إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده سبحانه نستعين به ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهديه الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ونبيه ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا ثم أما بعد أشهد أن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي وأفضل الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ونعوذ بالله جل في علاه من سخطه من النار. Begin on this last blessed Friday of Ramadan 2017, that will not return again until the Day of Judgment. We begin by praising Allah, the Most High, the Most Exalted, the Most Honorable, the Most Beautiful, the Most Powerful, the Most Merciful, the Most Forgiving. We testify to His oneness, His greatness, His power, His awe, His honor. We testify to the prophethood of His most beloved, the man He sent to guide and bring people back to Him, Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to bless us in the company of the Prophet ﷺ, and to allow Ramadan and these last moments and days and seconds of Ramadan to be a means of us meeting the Prophet ﷺ at the end of Al-Kawthar, at Al-Hawd, and that we can break our fasts as we seek to break them in this life, that we break our fasts of the Day of Judgment from the hands of Muhammad ﷺ. Ameen, Allahumma ameen. My brothers and sisters, the story of Adam and their journey back to Allah starts at the beginning of creation. The beginning of time when Allah Azza wa Jal created Adam with His own hands. After He took many different parts of the earth, the different colors and textures of the soil of the earth, the dirt of the earth, and He fashioned Adam with His own hands. And He blew the soul, the secret sauce or ingredient of life, into our father Adam, and began the journey of humanity, began this trip of humanity from Jannah onto earth back to Jannah. Allah Azza wa Jal is narrated that Allah Azza wa Jal, once He blew into Adam, as Ibn Kathir narrates, that the soul entered Adam alayhi salam and it started from his head and it started to go down into his body, bringing life to the dead clay that was Adam, making him fully into human, an upright being. And as the soul was entering into his body, the first thing that Adam did was he sneezed. And so Allah told him, Rahimak Allah, may Allah have mercy on you. And so the journey of Adam alayhi salam, from heaven when he commits the sin, and he's destined back to earth, and as he lives on earth, and as he heads back to paradise, he is reminded that the story or the beginning or the essence of Adam's creation is to seek this great goal, the championship trophy for the sons of Adam, is them attaining Allah's mercy, rahmatillah. And that's why it's beautiful that in Ramadan, that the Prophet ﷺ, after we do so much, after of course 29 days or 28 days of fasting, and 29 days of praying more than we've ever prayed, and trying to read Quran, and trying not to lie, and trying not to backbite, and working really hard, and being tired, and sweaty, and hungry, and head hurting, after so much effort, after the entire month that we truly lose sleep, energy, it's the most exhausting month for the abd, for any slave, especially the believer. That at the end of the month, when Aisha, she asked the Prophet ﷺ, Ya Rasulullah, after I've done all this, what is the dua I should ask in the last nights of Ramadan? What is the best thing I can beg Allah for in the last nights of Ramadan? Seeking Laylatul Qadr. So Laylatul Qadr is the greatest night of the year, and Ramadan is the greatest month of the year. What is the greatest dua I can say, like when we're at that end, when I'm at the doorstep of leaving Ramadan? The Prophet ﷺ, and sometimes I think I didn't understand it until you go back to this core. The Prophet ﷺ, he tells Aisha, Ya Aisha, say, beg. The greatest thing to ask for is to say, Allahumma innaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anna. Oh Allah, you embody the one that pardons the most. You embody mercy. You embody forgiveness. Tuhibbul afwa, and you love to pardon and to forgive. It is a part of your existence that you love the concept of giving your slaves and your creation afwa, pardon. So pardon us. Fa'fu anna. So pardon us. Interestingly, the scholars, they mention, why is it that after the abd, Sam wa qam, he fasted all day, and he stood up all night, and he given so much all of these days, 21, 25, 28 days of so much worship. Why on the 29th night, the potentially last night, the night that might be the night of power, why ask for Allah to pardon you? Because the goal of entire life, the goal of all our actions, the goal of why we fast and the goal of why we stand, the goal of deeds and movements and actions, the purpose of it all is to attain Allah's mercy. It's the heart of our existence. It's the essence of the solution to the matter. It's the core aim of every human being. That should be the aim. It's not a calculus equation. Sometimes, we do accounting in Islam. And so our relationship with Allah is an accounting relationships. Ya Allah, I did the 5. Ya Allah, I prayed 70 rak'ahs. Ya Allah, I prayed. It's 8 rak'ahs, it's 20 rak'ahs. Ya Allah, I counted the days I fasted. That's why the Prophet ﷺ, he said something amazing. He said, "Man qam la yaqulanna ahadukum." Don't let any one of you say, "Inni sumtu Ramadan kulla." That I fasted all of Ramadan. وَلَا قُمْتُ رَمَضَانَ كُلَّهُ. Oh, hey, guys, I prayed all of Ramadan. لَا يَكُلَّنَّ أَحَدٌ. Nobody should ever say that. Because we don't know if these actions, these movements, these things that we do, we don't know if they got the goal. Because the goal is Allah's pleasure and mercy. That's the essence of it all. Every single person, they must understand that their deeds don't save them. Even if every month was Ramadan, even if every night was Laylatul Qadr, even if every night was worth 1,000 months of worship, it's not the number that Allah Azza wa Jal allows us to go to Jannah to. It's not the number, it's not the accounting of how much we've done or how much we've prayed or how much we've fasted or how many hours or how many minutes. It is just that we are seeking Allah's mercy. That's the goal. And so the Prophet ﷺ, he says something really beautiful. When the companions asked him, Ya Rasulullah, is anyone going to enter into Jannah because of their deeds? Like if anybody enters into Jannah because of things that they've done, it's Muhammad ﷺ, Sayyid ibn Adam, the leader of humanity. Like you would enter into Jannah because of actions. No human can possibly match the Prophet ﷺ in actions. Impossible. Ya Rasulullah, would you enter Jannah because of your deeds? Qala la. Never. Illam, unless Allah takes me into His mercy. And that's why there's this beautiful little hadith here that's mentioned of the story of the man that comes on the Day of Judgment. And he's a little bit selfish. He says, Allah, I worked really hard. Like I was tired. I slept 2-3 hours in Ramadan. I fasted. My head hurt, my stomach hurt, I was exhausted, I was tired. And he goes to Ramadan and he has mountains of good deeds. We're not talking about bad deeds, brothers and sisters. We're talking about good actions, good things that he's done. Charity he's given when it was hard, and being patient and not lying, and all of these amazing deeds, great deeds. Hajj, Umrah, whatever it is. And it's mountains of deeds. And Allah asks him, do you want to enter Jannah because of your deeds? He said, Ya Allah, I worked really hard. It was a lot of years. It was a lot of Ramadans. It was a struggle. Of course, I want to be rewarded. I want to be rewarded for what I did. So Allah takes His deeds, His good deeds, all these Ramadans, all these Laylatul Qadr. He takes all of them, puts them in one side of the scale, and Allah takes what some mention is the weakest. It's the weakest organ in your body. It is hollow. It is 2 holes on double ends. It's like a mushroom. It's like a marshmallow with 2 holes. One side, light goes in. The other side, it flips to your brain. It's hollow from the inside out. Allah takes one eye. And He weighs it against His good deeds. And His good deeds, hundreds of years, thousands of rak'at, hundreds and dozens of days of fasting. How many Ramadans? He takes all of them and they fly away. Do you want to enter into Jannah because of your deeds or my mercy? Qala ya Allah, your mercy. It is at that point that the abd realizes that the entire goal of everything we do, we work really hard to attain Allah's mercy. Because if we cross the finish line of mercy, if we get the trophy of mercy, we've won. And so how do we attain mercy? Inshallah ta'ala, 3 ways that I will focus on in attaining Allah's mercy. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, and he tells us the remedy, the recipe for attaining Allah Azza wa Jalla's mercy. He says, Man sama, at the end of Ramadan, as we're leaving Ramadan, Man sama Ramadan, man qama Ramadan, man qama laylat al-qadr. Whoever fasts Ramadan, or prays in the nights of Ramadan, or prays in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, and seeks laylat al-qadr, all of these months, imanan wa ihtisaban, with full faith and conviction of expectation, غُفِرَ لَهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِهِ. He will be entered into Allah's mercy. So the solution is really important. We have to understand what the conditions are of attaining Allah's mercy. The first of them is having unequivocal belief that Allah is the most merciful. And that's why when a group of companions came to the Prophet ﷺ, and they were some of the worst pirates in the Arabian Peninsula, bandits. They were just Bedouins that were really bad. They come to the Prophet ﷺ and they said, Ya Rasulullah, we fornicate, we drink, we kill. What do you have? What are you offering? So the Prophet ﷺ recites to them the words of Allah, قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ. Tell my slaves, O Muhammad, those that have wiped the floor with their souls, with sins that they've done, the one thing that will destroy you for sure, لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله. Don't you dare ever lose hope or believe in Allah's mercy. And that's why it's important on our journey of guidance back to Allah, on our reorientation with the Quran in the month of Ramadan, the first phrase Allah tells us, it's the phrase that we repeat at least 34 times every day. In Ramadan, we might be repeating it 50, 60, 100 times a day. We say, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and then we repeat ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Because the orientation with Allah needs you to understand that right now, Allah is ar-Rahman. Allah can be, nothing in your life can be more merciful to you at this moment than Allah. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, when he saw a woman after a battle, after she lost her son, a woman lost her son, a 2-year-old baby boy. And if you can imagine losing a child, like just for a minute, they stray in the park, something happens. She lost her son. And it was after a battle. It's not at night, it's not in the mall, it's not in Toys R Us. She lost her son after a battle. So she finds her son. So the mom is running to the son, she's crying and the baby's crying, and she embraces her son. And she hugs him and she kisses him and she takes him and she starts to breastfeed him. Because he's been away from her for so long. It's what the narration mentions. And so the Prophet ﷺ, he tells his companions, like they're seeing this moment that the mom and the daughter meet, the mom and the son meet. They see the moment. So the Prophet ﷺ looks at them, he says, would you ever think that this woman were to throw this baby into a fire? Can you imagine that this woman at this moment take her son and throws him into fire? It's the epitome of love possible between humans. A mom and her baby at the most vulnerable moment. So the companions said, Ya Rasulullah, no way, why would she do such a thing? So he said, Allah arhamu bi'ibadihi min hadihi liwalidiha. Allah, at this moment, right now, and at every moment that we exist, shows us more mercy, an extremist amount of mercy right now than anything in our life can possibly show us. Allah arhamu bi'ibadihi min hadhihi liwalidiha. Nothing can be more merciful than you, than Allah right now. And so, imanan, the full conviction and belief that right now, without a doubt, that Allah is the most merciful thing to me right now. And that's why Ar-Rahman is the one that is most merciful to us right now. But Ar-Rahim is the one that for the future, ihtisaban, we expect that Allah, the expectation of what is to come. Imanan wa ihtisaban means, like, I expect that Allah, He's merciful to me right now. I can believe that. But what about when I get to the Day of Judgment? What about when I die? What about when I'm in my grave? What about if I made a mistake or a sin? What if I after Ramadan, like, I lost momentum? What about the doubts that I might lose Allah's mercy moving forward? No, don't worry about that either. Because Allah is not just the most merciful to you right now. Allah is Ar-Rahim. He is continually merciful to you every single day. Allah continues to be merciful. And this is what Ibn Abbas so beautifully, the companions, they understood it so well. Ibn Abbas, he says, Allah being merciful because He divided up His mercy into 100 parts. 1% went to all of creation for all of time. 1%. 1 part of the 100. 1% went for all of creation till all of time. That's 1%. And 99% He's prepared for the hereafter. So Ibn Abbas, he's a genius. He said Allah's mercy, Ar-Rahman, huwa Rahman fi dunya. He is Ar-Rahman, unimaginably merciful to us right now in all of dunya. And He is Ar-Rahim. He was infinitely merciful and continually every day until the end of time when we head to the hereafter. The goal is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Imanan wa ihtisaban. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله نشهد أن محمد رسول الله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. My brothers and sisters, the core fundamental belief of why we do things, deep down within our hearts, whatever action is in life, when that solid core understanding of why it is that we do things, why it is that we struggle, why it is that we pray, why is it that we do all these actions in life, why is it that we're patient, why is it that we're persevere, why? It has to be so strong on the inside. And if that thing is not strong within you and its expectation is so strong, then you will never be so adamant about attaining it. The purpose of all of life is that Allah brings all humans back to His mercy, back to His forgiveness, that He embraces them and showers them in the line that is the purpose of it all the ibadat, all the days, all the moments, all the struggles, every second. All of it is to attain the goal of Allah's mercy. And as Ramadan is leaving, and it's quickly left, just like our lives, ayyam and ma'dudat, our lives are just a metaphor of Ramadan. It starts high, we're excited when we're young, it's really boring in the middle, and at the end we're just trying to speed up and catch whatever we can. Ayyam and ma'dudat. If you just understood in the beginning of end, that Allah's mercy was the purpose. It's what is in my heart. It's what I give effort towards. That's my goal. Allah's mercy. So to explain it in a bit of a simplistic way, I want you to imagine that you're driving your car. You stop at a red light on Renner, and you see an extremely broken down, sick, old person that is extremely poor. And you're standing at the red light, and they knock on your door. And they are asking, please give me something in my cup, please, anything. And so a really nice person might roll their window down and put a $10 bill, if it's Ramadan. An extremely nice person might roll their window down and put a $100 bill in the cup, maybe. But can you imagine a person that rolls the window down. And to this disheveled, homeless, weak man, pulls out a checkbook and writes $100 billion check. And he puts it in his cup. We can't imagine it, of course. But Allah, being Ar-Rahman, is the one that gives the $100 billion check when He sees this man. Allah, being Ar-Rahim, is that He puts the check in the cup every single time He passes by him. Continual mercy. And that's why it's the goal of it all. That's why أول منازل العبد وآخره, the first stage of the relationship with Allah, and the last stage, just like the beginning of Ramadan and the end of Ramadan, the beginning of life and the end of life, all of it is that we turn back to Allah's mercy. That is the purpose of ibadah. That's the goal of it all. And so as I emphasize on that point so much, I want to put it, inshallah ta'ala, into a story of a young man. That we always believe in Allah's mercy, and we always expect Allah's mercy. And we should always disseminate Allah's mercy. Bring people to Allah's mercy. Help people on the path back to Allah's mercy. And so, this young man, his name was Tha'laba, radiallahu anhu. Great companion of the Prophet ﷺ, a really young man. He used to put in so much work, so much effort for the Prophet ﷺ. He used to work for Islam so hard. He used to pray very much. He was from Ahl Sufa. He used to worship so much. He was extremely dedicated to Allah and His Messenger. At the end of his life, he was running an errand for the Prophet ﷺ, and he went on the outskirts of Medina. And as he went out, he was running an errand. He's coming back and he was extremely thirsty. So he enters into an encampment, a place where people are tented out, and he hears water from one of the tents. So Tha'laba, he walks into the encampment, and he sees, he's looking for water, and he hears water dripping, and so he opens the tent for a split second. He opens the tent and he sees something. SubhanAllah, I think we are extremely desensitized to. You know, it's something you see on your Snapchat stories really easily. You stroll through Facebook, you see it really easily. You walk into Kroger's, you can see it really easily. Like, it's always attacking us, and we're desensitized to it. But the purest of hearts, like, they didn't understand things like this. So he saw a woman that was not dressed. For a split second, uncovered and covered. He uncovered the tent and he covered it back. And he said he was so worried at that moment. His heart sank to the bottom of his stomach because he was afraid at that second that he would be or lose Allah's mercy. Like, he was, that's it, he's done. So he screams out, ماذا فعلت? What have I done? What have I, like, all my deeds, all my actions, what have I done? What is my life? So he goes running and he does something really extreme. He goes and he stays in a cave for 40 days. Cut himself off from everything. Because of one moment. He goes to that cave. The companions and the Prophet ﷺ are looking for him day in and day out, week in and week out. They don't find him. Until finally Abu Bakr and Umar, they go all the way on the outskirts of Medina, and they talk to a Bedouin man they tell him, have you seen this young man, so-and-so, so-and-so? So he says, yes, I've seen him. He's the kid that comes down every night crying, pouring tears. So they tell him where, and they go up to him, and they find Tha'laba. SubhanAllah, they sought mercy. They yearned for mercy. They were willing to do the most extreme things just to make sure that they attain Allah's mercy. They believed in it so much, and they expected it so much, but they were willing to do anything just to attain it. So the Prophet ﷺ, the companions, Umar, Abu Bakr, they take Tha'laba. He was weak and extremely sick. It was as if he was dying. They take him back to Medina, and he gets to the Prophet ﷺ, and he's on his deathbed. His soul is coming out of his body. And so he is in the lap of the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ is caressing his head as he's passing away. And he asks, Ya Tha'laba, what is it? What is it that you want? ماذا ترجو? What is it that you want? What's going on? Why are you in this state? What's going on? Young man, extremely healthy, extremely strong. He was doing everything great. At that moment, he says, Arju rahmatillah. O Messenger of Allah, I'm yearning for Allah's mercy. Like even at the end of Ramadan, at the end of life, if we truly understand what it was all about, that's the ultimate goal, Allah's mercy. So the Prophet ﷺ told him, Al-mu'minu yarju. The believer, he expects and wants it all the time. And so Tha'laba, he passes away. And the Prophet ﷺ picks him up and he washes his body. And he brings him back and he prays on him. And they're carrying his janazah to the graveyard, and the Prophet ﷺ is tiptoeing, as he's done couple other times with other people. And Umar says, Ya Rasulullah, what's wrong? Is it too many people, not enough space for parking? You want us to make room for you? So the Prophet ﷺ says, no. Ya Umar, you don't realize the thousands of angels here witnessing this janazah. Al-mu'minu yarju. The believer, he expects, he wants, he works hard seeking this goal, Allah Azza wa Jall's mercy. At the beginning, at the end, it's Allah Azza wa Jall's mercy. At the beginning of life and the end of life, we are just seeking Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. And so subhanAllah, even as I say those moments of Tha'laba, I remember the same mercy of another 17-year-old that just passed away last week, who we hope and pray that she is encompassed in the same mercy as Tha'laba. Our dear sister Nabra, alayha rahmatullah. Same thing. She was a person that didn't expect not to perform Eid this year. She didn't expect not to see her parents anymore. She didn't expect not to survive tomorrow. But it happened to her. And it will happen to all of us. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to have mercy on her and accept her as being one of His martyrs, His shuhada. It's the same mercy, my brothers and sisters, that if we were to blink and not think about it, we'd lose out. If we were to be heedless for one moment, we would lose out. And even after Ramadan, even if we leave and whatever happens, we understand that the goal was not Ramadan. The goal was not Laylatul Qadr. The goal is not the prayer or the action or the reading. Those are not the goals. The goal is attaining Allah's mercy. And that journey is not a journey in Ramadan. That journey is a journey until our souls leave our bodies. Ramadan is not a marathon. Ramadan, life is the marathon. Ramadan is just the bend to give you more momentum as you're running back to Allah Azza wa Jalla. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept us into His mercy. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to envelope us and shower us in His mercy. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept our deeds and to allow our deeds to be a means of us attaining His mercy. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to shower His mercy upon us and our families in this life. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla in the last moments and days and seconds of Ramadan to shower us and accept us into His mercy. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept all those that have passed away in His mercy, from the believers and those that wanted Him. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept our dear sisters Nabra into His mercy, and our dear brothers and sisters every day around the world that pass away. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept them into His mercy. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to allow us to be resurrected gaining His mercy, to allow us to be of those that enter and seek out Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim in the next life and are enveloped and showered into His mercy that is always upon us and is continually upon us until the end of time. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to accept from us our deeds and our actions, and to allow us to not meet Him without us attaining and seeking and yearning and wanting and believing and gaining the reward of His infinite eternal rahmah and His mercy, and constant and continuous upon us. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه ولا تكفروه وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر.